Welcome to Tuesday Talks with Darleen, and I've got the amazing Kat with me. Now, I will preface this with just be aware this could, a bit of trauma, so just be aware of that. Now, lovely Kat came from a childhood with significant trauma that was never properly processed. She eventually spent 12 years taking five psychiatric medications. Got to get the word out. I used to be able to say it all the time. Daily, which led Kat to becoming incapacitated by these medications. She left her career and went on to government disability. Now, after a bolt from the blue, she followed the breadcrumbs, extricated herself from the mainstream medical system, the model, healed and transformed her life. Now, through a paradigm shift, she's now a wayshower for others all over the world who are seeking to do the same thing using the power of the conscious and subconscious mind. Now, and I've actually got tears because this is a topic so close to my heart, because people that have been following me know that I've actually had mental illness myself. And I was actually in the healthcare field for 30 years, and I can totally understand what you're saying because I've seen the same thing. And the model is, it's broken. It really is. It's broken, and it needs so much fixing. So thank you, Kat, for being here. And yeah, let's talk.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I am really looking forward to talking about, what my passion is and, how I enjoy being of service to humanity. So based on my own struggles and challenges and where I've been in the past. So,
Yeah, beautiful. And
yeah.
just before we got on, we were talking about what your specialty is, and I'd love for you to actually say more on that.
Yeah, so my specialty is I through my own personal experience and working with others, have formed a paradigm that um, mental illness or the label of mental illness is our life experiences, our traumas and dramas, and things that remained unprocessed, have been pathologized and medicated away. And when we start to take away the medication, or we decide that we want to see what life is like without that medication, it's really important to look at the things that prompted us to take the medication in the first place. And I believe it's those lived experiences that are just coming out sideways or wonky, um, where we've made adaptations in our life, in our world, to try to function as best as we can. And at some point, we just don't have the energy anymore. It's exhausting to try to manage the life that we've lived so far and our experiences. And so we've got to find some way to really look at that. And so when we look at that, it's at a metaphysical level and a subconscious level. And then, of course, we also bring in the conscious awareness, but sub does mean below the level of awareness. So, sure, we're going to have some ideas about what we have experienced in our lives and how we feel about that, or how it made us feel, and what our perception of those events were, which then forms our beliefs, and it creates the filter that we're looking through. And oftentimes, so another aspect is I believe we are born whole, perfect, and complete.
Yes.
It's only our life, it's only our life experiences and the way that we perceive them, receive them, took them on, that causes us to believe differently, but it isn't the truth of who we are. And so part of the work that we do when I work with others is stripping away those filters from the experiences that we've had that have created these limiting beliefs and created perspectives that we then gave meaning to that are not real. They're not true. They're not who we really are.
Yeah. And
And so Yeah, and then the other aspect of it is about the subconscious level is, the subconscious mind it's just a recorder,
Mhm.
and it's recording everything all the way even in utero. We now know as we're forming it, in the womb, and it's preparing us for the life that the environment that we're going to be entering into. And so that big recorder is recording for the purpose of its number one job, which is keeping us alive.
Mhm.
And part of keeping us alive is keeping us safe. So it is going to hold on to any of these experiences that we've had that is threatening our life in any way because we feel unsafe or harmed or whatever has been taken on.
Mhm.
And so even if we're not medicated and we have an experience where we get triggered, and I think triggering in society has gotten a bad rap because
Mm.
I say the trigger is the treasure,
Mm.
right? That's where
Mhm.
we start because that's valuable. That's telling us valuable information that we're holding on to something at the subconscious
Mhm.
level that's not serving us. So, and then the last piece, which is the metaphysical level, which is we have these tools that we can employ. And I sort of think of it like the branches and the leaves on the tree. And we can do diet and exercise and meditation. And these are all really beautiful things. And I think it's really important to get to the root system where those traumas and dramas are, so that when we are meditating or eating well, we're doing it from a different level of consciousness, a higher level, a grander level of consciousness. So it transforms from doing those things to mitigate or manage and moves us into a space of doing those things as part of our spiritual growth process so that we can thrive. We're using these tools to thrive rather than survive.
Mm. I love that. And that's actually my tagline, helping you thrive instead of survive.
Yes, I saw that. I
And
love that.
and I really want to hone in what you just said because it actually it was perfect. You said triggers are the treasure. And also, we are whole, and that's totally what I agree. And for me, I got the severe depression. So it wasn't, as you said, it wasn't until you can start doing those things and bring yourself up to a higher level that you can look at your subconscious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, 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 and yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of having that one of the first things that I sort of teach or coach on
Mm.
rather when I work with folks is the way I explain it for myself is I had this suitcase and I started just throwing things in the suitcase, right? And then I like was sitting on the suitcase to close it. And when that wasn't working anymore, I started medication. I didn't know what to do. I came from a family that if you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you medicine, you take the medicine, right? All of that, give
Mhm.
your power solely away
Mhm.
to,
Yep.
right? And so the medicine became the duct tape
Mm.
on the suitcase. But
Mhm.
eventually the duct tape just burst.
Mm.
And for me
Mm.
personally, and that was that bolt from the blue that
Mm.
I knew I had to do something different.
Mm.
And you recently had, I guess, that you were talking about asking the right questions.
Mm.
And so I started to ask the questions, and then the answers started to come, and I realized I needed to see what life was like without these medications and to find a way to deal with the things that landed me on them. Because
Mm.
quite honestly, it was a whole suitcase
Mhm.
full. And then as I began to unpack the suitcase, I got to a place where I kept the suitcase empty,
Mm.
and now there is no suitcase.
Mm. Love that. Love that. And I love how you said that, the medication was your duct tape. And for anyone watching, that can actually be different things. For me, it was actually sugar and keeping
Mhm.
myself busy. That was my duct tape. I did everything to keep busy. Like at one stage, I was working part-time, still volunteering over, I think, 200 hours a year and going to uni full-time. So of course,
Wow.
there was no way I was going to be looking at my stuff, was there? Like, let's just
Right.
duct tape.
And, right. And we all have different coping mechanisms
Mm,
that we employ.
mm,
And, and, I am of the school that we are all doing the best we can
mhm,
wherever we're at,
mm,
all of us, with whatever level of awareness we're not that we're at.
mhm,
And there should, I don't think there should be any judgment in that.
mm,
I think that,
mm.
we need to honor every other spiritual being having their human journey experience.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, like other people might be watching and go, oh, took medication. Doesn't matter. You need to do what's
Mhm.
right for you. And being in
Yes.
the healthcare field, I said that continuing. I love the healthcare field and I love all complementary therapies because it all has a beautiful place.
Yes, I'm very much of a non-duality person.
Mm,
I think I really strive to live in a place of holding space
mm,
for both. We live in a society that is so either or, this or
mhm,
that,
mhm,
and it's not serving any of us. It's an
mm,
and. We
mhm.
need to learn how to hold space for both because there's value in everything.
Exactly. Like, if you have an accident and you chop off your arm, you can't, complementary therapies is not going to work.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Right. You're in a really bad car accident. I
Mm,
wouldn't want someone doing Reiki on you.
mm,
Reiki's wonderful,
mm,
but you need triage
mhm,
services.
mm. Exactly. And it's,
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's the same
Absolutely.
thing when you have mental illness. You need to do what's right for you so that you can get to that space where you can then
Mhm.
work on your beautiful subconscious.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I say, when I first started coming off the medication, it's very, very difficult
Mm,
to taper off of those medications. It's
mm,
a very difficult process. And many times it takes a very long time
mhm,
to slowly wean yourself off to sort of
mm,
mitigate those
mm,
effects. And there was a time I got very angry. I was angry at the prescribers. I was angry at the system. I was angry at
mm,
big pharma. I was angry,
mm,
but on the other side, and as I grew in my awareness and my consciousness and did my own healing and transformation work, I realized those medications served me at a time when I had nothing else. They saved my marriage at the time. And I'm very, very grateful for the ways that they served me, assisted me, aided me.
mm,
And did I want to stay there? No, that was part of my growth
mm,
process. But I also have to recognize and honor the value
mm,
that did provide. They did save my life.
mm,
I was suicidal at the
mhm.
time, and that's what worked for me and what I needed. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I totally agree. There is nothing wrong with that at all. As we've
Yeah,
said, we need to do what we need to do. That's the important thing,
absolutely.
to actually embrace that and go, you know what? I'm doing what is right for me. And I'm not going to listen to anybody else because, we've got beautiful friends and family that want to give us all this amazing advice. Yet,
Mhm.
and this is why I love intuition, because we've got to do what's right for us.
Yes, and that actually beautifully segues into my next important piece that when I work with folks and really and when I live my own life and out in the world as I'm living, and that is I'm very much about living from the inside out
Mm,
instead of the outside in.
mhm,
Start on the inside.
mm,
And then when you start on the inside, if you're directed to a resource outside, or you're directed to ask for help or a question, whether it's your guides or whomever you draw that greater wisdom from, follow the energy and go there. But to start immediately on the outside, that was one of the biggest, I don't want to say lessons. I would say that's one of the grandest opportunities that I was given through the journey that I had with my own mental health, was that I really learned to live from the inside out and to not abandon myself and give my power away to anything and everyone outside of me. So I start on the inside. And then when I'm let to go out for those resources or those connections or whatever, that, that's the secondary.
Yeah. And, with that, how can someone who, is in a space where they're not, they're down here and they want to start moving up, what's the first thing that they can do to actually go from the inside?
That's a great question. If one is medicated, it creates, you feel like there's this wall. It's clear, you can see through it, but it's like a wall or a veil that you can't seem to pierce. And it's very disconcerting because it disconnects us from spirit. It disconnects us from that which is greater, and it's very isolating, and it is a very disempowered place to be in, because you don't have that connection. It feels disconnected. That's not the reality, and so we're left flailing and struggling. So lots of times, a couple of things. One is to ask yourself questions. What if? What if? And how would I like it to be instead? Like, start thinking as fantastical and as dreamy, as you can, idealistically, no matter how fantastical it may seem. It's a starting point. And when we start to get some momentum in one direction, thanks to universal laws, right, that will help build the momentum in a direction. As far as guidance, for people who are medicated and feel that disconnection, I recommend different tools, whether it's an angel card deck, maybe a pendulum, right? Just different tools that can sort of be a bridge or maybe even a surrogate of your higher self that you're not able to totally plug into and connect to. Use your power of intention. Set the intention of what it is that you need to most know, or how do you want to be guided, and use the tools to bridge the gap until you can get connected again and start honing and building the muscle of that intuition. I don't think there's anything wrong with using tools and processes to sort of bridge the gap until you can get connected and then start working that like a muscle.
I love that. And I'm just sort of like looking around going, yes, I've got all of them still.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really grateful that for me, I grew up in a religion, which I'm grateful for, did cause a few things, but I'm grateful for that, because when I left, I started a spiritual journey, and I started with things like crystals and cards and everything else alongside working in the healthcare field. So for me, thankfully, excuse me, when I did actually get that suicidal depression, everything, I was actually able to I know it for certain, an angel reached down and flipped a switch. And I really do believe that.
I totally believe that. I absolutely believe that. I don't, I like to say, take what you like and leave the rest, but I do subscribe to, our soul having a plan for our life. And part of having that plan is setting up support on the other side, or in the other realms, if you will, to help us be successful in what it is that we planned to get out of this life. And I don't believe that we're here floating along, and I do believe that miracles happen every day.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I look back and feel it was a miracle because,
Yeah.
I had everything. I had, when they talk about suicide, have they got this, this, and this? I had it all.
Mm,
I had it all.
mm,
And I'm just so
yeah.
grateful that I then had all the other tools to slowly get there. And I worked with a psychologist, and I
Mm,
loved that because it helped me get through a certain stage. So then I could
yes.
start doing other stuff.
Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I just
Beautiful.
love it all. Like it's just amazing. And that's why, there's people like you and me out there that can help
Mm,
support, anyone like that, they've moved to that stage. Because I say, I want you to have somebody else to support you with your mental health because
yes.
I'm not going to do that. That is not my job. My job is then to do this.
Yes. Yeah. And that's part of, and this is the third piece,
Mm,
taking radical personal responsibility
mhm,
for our lives.
mm,
And that's tough. And
mhm,
it doesn't have to be done all in one fell swoop, but just one little step at a time. You
mm,
know, what was, it could be, what was my role in this? Or how can I take responsibility for, um, the way that I feel? And maybe that's, what am I eating?
mm,
How am I fueling my body?
mm,
Like the gamut is
mm,
is huge.
mm,
But I don't believe in any panaceas either.
mhm,
I think it's a journey, and different things can serve us in
mm,
different stages of our journey, and different things work for different
mhm,
people. And I think it's about finding, um, what works for you for whatever
mhm,
stage that you're
mhm,
at. And sometimes it's looking up and saying, I don't even know who I'm talking
mm,
to, but if there's something different, you got to show me. And
mhm,
that was what I said in my kitchen one morning when I was juicing and didn't think I was going to live the rest of the day, because I didn't really want to.
mm,
So, it's divine intervention, a different way.
mm,
Mine was more slowly unfolding versus the switch, but we all get what we need when
mhm.
we need it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I hadn't had that switch, I wouldn't have been here. That's the thing. Like, I
Right.
know for a fact that I needed that universe to
Yes.
go, well, no, hang on, you've got so much more to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, I do believe we get what we need when we need it. Sometimes it's not always what we want.
Yeah.
A lot of times it can line up, but
Don't say
not
that.
always. What we need and what we want are not always the same,
Hmm. Yeah, and I agree with
but
that.
we always get
Mm.
what we need.
Exactly. Yeah. And talking about the questions we ask, one of the hardest questions I continually ask myself is, what is the worst thing that can happen? And I had actually been,
Yes.
the worst thing had actually happened. I was seconds away from actually, committing suicide.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm,
That's a great question, because so many of us get caught up in that loop of the disaster
mm,
thinking, right? The disaster
mhm,
thinking, and if we stop and we say, okay, let me actually look at this. What
mm,
is the worst thing
mhm,
that could happen?
mm,
And we actually go there.
mm,
Many times. I
mhm,
saw a little diagram one time where it was this big circle, and it says things we think are going to happen.
mhm.
And then there was this tiny little thing that says things
Yeah.
that actually happen,
Yes. Yes.
you know?
Yep. Yep, and that's my mindset. Like, and I'm now really aware of it, thankfully. And I do catastrophize, and I need to be aware of that. And something happened only, a couple of months ago now, and thankfully, because I was aware of it, I went, okay, no, I'm catastrophizing, and then worked through it, and of course, had an amazing morning. Like,
I love that. And that brings in the idea of a mental diet,
mm-hmm,
right? So having the awareness,
mm,
and then practicing the mental diet. Like,
mm,
what thoughts am I feeding on?
mm-hmm,
Is this helpful? Is
mm,
it serving me? Is
mm,
it what I want? And if not, take that awareness and
mm,
move it into, flip it around. This is what I would rather be
mm.
experiencing. And so I don't call it a mental diet, I call it a mental live it.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what I did, because there was a meetup I was meant to go to. Like, I'm new to this city, so I didn't know public transport. So I was catastrophizing, going, oh, well, I'm just going to ring the lady who's going to drive me, and I'll just go, I can't get there. And then
Mhm.
thankfully
Yes.
I live with amazing people, and
Mhm.
they just by being their presence just calmed me down. I went, okay, what can I actually do? So then between the two of us, we went, this is what you do, this is what you do. I turned to the lady and I said, look, you're taking that bus. Can I hop on with you? Can you tell me where to get off? And ended up having
Mhm.
an amazing experience at a meetup.
Brilliant.
Mm,
Brilliant. And those types of practices are what pull people into a whole other
mm,
level of vibration and
mhm,
energetically, and that's what I call taking
mm,
radical personal responsibility for our lives.
mm. Yep.
So kudos to you,
Thank you.
because not everyone even though they have the awareness,
Mm,
maybe they don't have the confidence, or
mm,
maybe they're fearful to step into that place, but you're
mm.
doing that,
Yeah,
which is amazing.
through a lot of work. And I will fully admit that I've done a truckload of work, like a truckload
Yes.
of work to get there, because after that experience, I want to create the best life possible for myself and to help others. Like, that's what I'm here to do.
Yes, I feel the same way. It is not for the faint of heart.
Mhm. Mhm.
And not and to be fair, not everyone is up for that.
Mm.
And that's okay too.
Mhm.
But for those who are and say, I want to continue to work, I want to continue to move and
Mhm.
thrive and be the best version of myself, make no mistake, it is not an easy road.
Mm. That's for
Like
sure.
I said, not for the faint of heart. I
Mm.
mean, you know, it takes a lot of time and dedication. I think it does get easier as you step into more and more mastery,
Mhm.
right? As you
Mhm.
step into that mastery, it does get easier. But until you step into those levels of mastery, it is a lot of work, and it can be very exhausting.
Mm, it can be. And that's where having all those other beautiful tools and friendships and everything
Yes.
can really help. Like, for me, the beach is my go-to place. And living in the
Yes.
city, I can't actually get there. But that's okay, because I know I can just basically close my eyes and I'm right there.
And you're there.
Mm,
Beautiful. Yes,
mm,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I'm very much about me. I'm more of a woods,
Mm,
lake
yep.
person, is what restores me and
Mm,
replenishes me and connects me and grounds me. But
mm,
I hear you.
mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
And
that's
it's knowing those things,
mm.
or discovering or rediscovering those things.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was about to say, is, finding what is right for you. And what I love to help people with is I go, write down a list of everything that recharges you, and then l- actually give it a number. What is the one thing that you want to do? And then the next and the next, and have that with you. So when you're having a moment where it's like, ugh, then look at that
Mhm.
list and go and do it.
I love that. Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes.
Mm.
I second and third that.
Yeah, and so
Right?
mm,
It's sort of like a North Star in some
mhm,
ways, right? To center us and bring us back,
mhm,
and bring us back into a
mm.
direction,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a compass.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. For those people that are not aware, the North Star is we've all got a North Star, and it's our direction. And
Oh,
so we need
absolutely.
to do things that keep us on that path, that keep us going.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes. I've been enjoying your new art series that you started, and you mentioned that you're an Aries, and
mm,
Aries are very thinking
mhm.
and heavy and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a very left-brained
Mhm,
activity, right? It's that divine masculine and that left
mhm,
brain. And when we have our own businesses, we tend to stay stuck in that left
mhm,
hemisphere. But when we're doing art, we're in the right hemisphere and the divine feminine, and that's when the intuition and the divine guidance and the inspiration can come in, because we've left this hemisphere and now we're in this hemisphere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we receive the intuition and the
Mm-hmm.
ideas, and through doing creative things, we open up that channel and let that come in and leave that left hemisphere in, right?
Yep, yep. And what I love is, because I've done both the spiritual work and worked in the healthcare field, which is pretty left brain systems and processes.
Yes.
Now both my left and right hemispheres work beautifully together. Like they're so,
Whole brain
so
state.
clear. Yeah, it is. And it's just,
Yes.
it's incredible when you get there. You're just like, whoa.
Yes, because and that's another, the modality that I use puts the person in a whole brain state through a balance process. And when we're in that whole brain state, we've got access to all of the attributes of the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And when you put those together and you're in that whole brain state, you've got superpowers, because you're not operating predominantly in one hemisphere or the other. When you can tap into both simultaneously and be whole brained, that's where all the magic and power is.
It is, yeah, yeah. And that's just a perfect way to end this most amazing interview. Like, honestly, I want to talk to you. Keep just talking. Can we talk all day? But I know it's not for you.
Yes.
So,
Well, maybe we can connect again another time.
I would love
I would
to.
love
And yeah, I would love to. Like, that would just be amazing. And for anyone watching or listening to the recording, the audio, please make sure that you check out the description, because in there I've got every way that you can find Kat. Please, please go and check her out. Please just do as I say.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And please, for anyone watching, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, do all those amazing things that really support me. And yeah, I'll definitely be getting Kat back. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. It was